biggest. I look through here is forest market lumber indexes. So you could go to ChatGPT or Google and type in lumber futures. This is what they're showing. This is 4 foot. India, we're talking about logs. This is actually manufactured logs, manufactured boards. But you can see what's happened since 2010 here. I wish I graphed it zoomed out this week. It's in 07, 08. Pretty crazy then too. But I always like to point out, so you have 2022 here. This is kind of peak COVID lumber mill. We went to Home Depot and plywood was $90 a sheet. It's crazy. And so you see, like historically, they were making huge money for the amount for the wood that they were selling. So I'll go back a 2 slides. And so you go back here. And so here we are, peak of 2022, peak of COVID. They're barely paying $900, and they're paying $700 now. It's not the huge difference you're seeing on that other graph. And so that's literally the proof that sawmills were printing real barrels of money by the day during COVID. I don't know how many people built a chicken coop during COVID. I did. That's all part of it. So go back to that.
Great question. So that
Yeah.
was, that last slide was the raw.
Yeah, so this is
raw.
This is what you would get if it was a landowner selling you logs. This is what lumber future traders, so people like Lowe's, Home Depot are buying off of. They're paying those, they go back to 4. They're paying this price.
Okay, so that's like after it's been.
Exactly. This is delivered to the middle. Lumber futures are bought in either 1 month, 2 months, 3 months out. They think the market's going to be better. Lumber futures are better further out, and so traders will buy stuff now, hoping that it's better later on, and then resell it and make more money. Then, but it's just really, I mean, you just visualize it. You're talking, we're at $400, $500 right now for 2x4s, and then we're over, almost $1,250 back in 2022 COVID. And that's 5x, and they were paying 5x for logs. So that's just kind of a benefit of them owning mills at the right time. So Sarah Pacific Shelton, for example, was built in 2017, 2018. They operated probably at break even here. They probably paid for the whole mill. Now back to break even just above. So lumber futures is a big one to consider. Next one will be housing numbers. This is, so we go back to back in here, when I was here last, housing numbers have not really changed that much. Fortunately, a lot of that's due to interest rates. But the big one, actually, go back. Big one here is U.S. housing starts 1 unit. So that's this kind of gray line. This is the one that we really track, and those are the people that are using the most wood and single family homes. These multi-family homes, so these 5+ units, which are normally steel apartment buildings, not as much wood. So when these numbers spike, that typically indicates that there's a spike in the lumber market, which then correlates to logs. Permits, kind of the first indicator that there's going to be a spike in housing numbers, then spikes lumber futures, which then spikes logs. So you look at housing permits, usually it's before the housing numbers start. Landowners have permits before they can actually build. No mortgage rates, interest rates. I just like looking at this. I see our parents talking crazy numbers back in the 80s and 90s, and they sure were. But you see what's happened since the low falling pivot there. And then you look at things like the Dow Jones Industrial Market indicators, but really far removed from the timber market, not great. So the pandemic happened here, and you can see that coming in the logs too. Common sense there. Back to the export market that operates in Washington too. So you have the Japanese export market, and also buying like high quality Douglas-fir logs in Japan. Either out of Longview, Port Angeles, Astoria. Those are the big, probably big Japanese export grounds. So when the Japanese yen is is high, that means their buying power versus the US dollar is a lot higher. So they can buy more for the same amount again they had previous. So you see we have a little bit of spike right now, so the Japanese hold on the timber market in Western Washington is pretty strong right now. A lot of that's got to do with their exchange rate there. The other one is the Chinese exchange rate. China's not at the same ports mostly one year. This one's even a little more crucial. It's probably more logs into China than Japan for sure. So you see a little bit of a spike here. This was felt big in the industry, so this means China buys a bunch of wood. That means all the domestic mills aren't getting the same amount of wood from the street, so they're having to pay more to try to compete with China. So yeah, another important one to watch. And then last one is here, this crude oil costs a lot of money to up the streets, prices that for sure. So other things I like to look at, there's this publication called Forest Economic Advisors. They put out the projections and forecasts and stuff, subscribes, got awful expensive, 15 grand or something. Kind of this is last month's report. I'll share with you. I can share with upper management last month. Lower housing starts, social improvements for the rest of the year. Rates back over 7% again. Offshore exports saw a jump. That's lots of demand. Exchange rate there. Lumber futures average 413 in 2023, down 147% in 2022, still 19% above 2019. Housing starts dropped 10% in March. And this other one here, offshore, the log market report is a like 50-year log buyer veteran in the industry. People pay money to get intel from, and subscribes to them. And so this is kind of what he's saying for the folks right now. Oversized, high quality logs with big demand. It's mostly into Everett. Low quality logs not doing so well. Chips are moving a little better this month. So chips mean either whole log chips or mill residuals. Talk a little bit about it. But Japan exports pretty strong right now. It's back to the dollar exchange rate there. And the story to just go for the Japanese export market and export port there last month. It's kind of really nicely for them. So that little boom there. Big one, I have mentioned later. Rainier Timberlands, west of Grays Harbor, they slowly tapering off production of the tree farm, about 15,000 acres is up for sale right now. Actually, it's public auction today for it. So it happens there. Who's going to buy that? That took a huge swath of wood out of the market that was exportable, and so now you have these export markets. Looking for wood, they're trying to buy it from more small private landowners now, because this big landowner is slowing down, and they're a big player. Port Angeles export market's a little slow right now, and all their market in Washington, Oregon still slightly better than Washington. So these are just kind of fun. They made more DNR stuff, but we pay big money for this data. The thought was insurance. So this is kind of what I hear, phone calls and conversations with log buyers and loggers. Hardwood mills inventories are healthy right now. So again, there's only 2 players in Chehalis or in Port Angeles. They're really feast or famine when they get hit with a bunch of wood when the spring happens and weather's nice. So all there's hardwood log in the winter. They get hammered, so then they hold off on buying, and then by the end of the summer. Weather comes back around and then they don't have enough wood, so it's like feast or famine. So always watching them. Bull market's really strong right now. There's a huge purchase order going to Ireland right now. Country of Ireland buys all of their bulls in America because they've got rid of all their trees, and that's where their go-to spots. Stumpage value remains strong. Stumpage value means that the mill owner or the company who owns the mill own the wood in the wood. So on stump, they haven't harvested yet, it's still growing, but they own it, deliver to themselves never. Cedar fence board market strong, and then rough oversized mills are struggling right now. A lot of that's due to railroad tie demand is really low right now. There's a lot of building last summer, and I think a lot of the rail companies are slowing down this year, so really hurting. And there's other big news you didn't hear about, because this was a huge one that shook shockwaves through the whole industry. West Rock and Tacoma closed. Although they didn't buy trees in West Rock, they bought chips. Those chips all came from either mills or from full log chippers. And so this mill in particular bought, I don't know exactly, but it's over half of their chips came from the Sierra Pacific sawmill in Shelton. And so the day this closes, we have Sierra Pacific Shelton now that has all this chip that they have to sell somewhere that they didn't have before. So what happens is Sierra sells that chip at a loss because they have to get rid of it. They can't just keep storing it. It adds up to massive piles. And so then that sends ripple effects all the way down to the market, and your whole log chippers who buy whole logs and rough, nasty stuff. They kind of get the short end of the stick and keep the side because they can't sell it at a loss. So that's a big one. Next one here. Another one, I mentioned this, banks and banks Oregon closed, Hampton here. I lost our best rapper slogan in the whole industry, unfortunately. And then Airport announces a definite curtailment of the former Oregon sawmill, and they reduced production all in sea. So that's another Oregon sawmill offline. It was pulling a little bit into Southwest Washington, but not much. But it just kind of bumps people. So when they go away now, maybe those guys that were to Southland don't have to go as far, so they don't reach into Washington now. Same thing here. Thanks. Thanks. At the same time, we have this kind of trend that's happening in the industry. A lot of money is heading to the southeast of the country. So I mentioned Rainier selling their 115,000 acres. They're also buying thousands of acres in the south. The warehouse will do the exact same thing here. And it's all chasing the log market down there in short locations and great growth rates on that stuff and all this, but so it's kind of a general trend we've been seeing. This big name warehouse getting out of Washington, their homeland, and going south. It is a different product, but it is competitive at some level to what we make of it. So. And then another big one here, and we have the mill coming online. Pacific Northwest Renewables just pulled their EPA permit for air. We're building a huge plant here on Moon Island with lithium. And then resourcing, so when you drive by a logging job, it's a big slack pile. They're going to be going out and moving some harvesting slack piles and chipping in, bringing it here, turning it into pellets, and they put those pellets on ships straight to China. And China's in the process of phasing out their coal industry and replacing coal with some of this biomass stuff that they've been doing. Apparently, it's somewhat simple to convert a charcoal, charcoal mill, I guess, a coal-fired energy power plant into a biomass power plant. So that's kind of what they're doing. So we have one coming in Hoquiam here, which is pretty exciting. At the same time as one along built right now. Same idea though, it should be all China. And so take all that information I just told you, and you have to come up with what the log prices are into the future for your landowner, for me, for the board of resources. I have to estimate what I think log prices are in the future. So this is again published on our external site here, and it kind of weighs in everything we just talked about. Hearing what the markets are saying, what bid results are telling us, and so July 24, I'm estimating log prices to be this column right here. You compare it to what it was in July of 2023 right here. This is all online, but there's just so much going on there. It's so complicated. It changes on the dime, and small forest landowners that don't participate in this actively or just post when they go sell logs and they don't understand what's happening. So I always point people to our external facing sites. The only resource is public, that's for sure. We fortunately sell a lot of logs, so we get a lot of participation from the mills. So, they want to play ball with us, I guess. So they have to provide us this kind of information when we try to get to the public. So yeah.
What is the utility? Is that's not cool.
Yeah, so this could be down here. So utility within pulp, yeah. Okay, so pulp is typically bought by the ton. So you get times, or divide that by 9 roughly, and that'd be how much per ton it's worth. So those are again, quoted prices I've either gotten, trends I'm seeing, stuff like that, so. Hope is just, it's just a rough spot right now, the West Rock Mill is Tacoma closed, which said that, ripple effects through the whole industry, so now you have kind of dirty or logging job really happening out in Western Washington right now. They don't have anywhere to send their whole log pole. So it sits there in the woods and it looks ugly, and that's because it, probably doesn't pencil to get it to the mill, or maybe the mill's don't operate anymore, that are buying it, and they don't want it, so, yeah.
So you can make pellets, you can make particle board, what other things can you do other than that with chips and?
Just. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole world of stuff. I'm real optimistic that that's the way the industry is going. I mean, I hate the waste of any log job and leaving the other side and chips and mills pump out chips all the time. There's a huge market for Traeger pellets right now in Western Washington. People don't really think about it. A lot of your Traeger pellets are actually sawdust from your older mills in Western Washington. So I mean, there's a possibility we're gonna look at it. It's kind of a hot topic in the industry of biomass. The mass timber, both of those are hot. So, but, honestly, it's pretty much the only two things right now. But I think it's changing.
Well, and then also like.
Yeah, and they all, they all do that, but to scale, and we're talking 0%, there's 140 log truck loads a day. That's 3 miles worth of log trucks. I mean, that's massive amount of wood. So you think about bark, chip, and sawdust. I mean, it's gotta go somewhere. Those mills, they literally would have to shut down if they didn't get rid of it within a week. Pile up and cover the bill. It's crazy. And so, yeah, I mentioned, we publish this all online, so you go to DNR, product sales and leasing, you click on timber sales, you get this timber sale quarry, log prices. Take you to this page, and if you scroll down here, you can't, but we'll show you all the dates back to like 2007 or something. All the months that we publish data for what log prices have been. We are the only major public agency in Washington publishing this kind of stuff, so the Department of Revenue relies on us for taxing purposes or tax based on what DNR is saying lumber prices are, or log prices are. So we're the only one with public available information. Whereas doesn't tell them what they're paying for logs today. So it's a nice resource there. You can also get to it from our small horse and then on the portal. We'll just keep out. Next slide. So just talk through a bunch of log dollars that prices at you, whatever the log's worth. So I did this a little more in depth last year. There's kind of really these 4 things you gotta know. Have a tree or a landowner that wants to sell logs. There's a cost to log. You have to build roads to get to it. What's it cost to haul it, and then where are you gonna take it? And so you have all these kind of 4 factors here. There's some other stuff with taxes and that kind of stuff too, but these are the real 4 main ones here. And so you have to figure these kind of things out. So kind of what I always like to tell landowners is you don't want to start with this person. You don't typically like to out a lot of the ones that know the market probably best. I always like to tell them, figure out where the closest mill is, call them, they're gonna line you up with the logger, the trucker, the road builder, whatever you gotta do. It's more clean that way, and I like to think that some of the industry bigger folks are a little more honest. But so if you factored all this stuff in, and these are all costs, so you have, I'm showing you what I was showing you before with delivered log prices, and so you have costs too. So the difference of delivered log price and the cost will be a stump value. So that's what the tree is worth sitting on the stump in the woods. So that's whatever the forecast is showing you log prices are going to be when you're going to harvest, subtracting all your costs. And so logging could be anywhere from $80 to $300 a thousand. So if you get paid $700, you're going to lose $80 for logging. Road building, sky's the limit there. Hopefully it's not much. It's a streamer bridge built. And then trucking, I always like to give you an example. A log truck needs to make about $1,000 a day. That'd be a little low, but you make about $1,000 a day. So if you live 50 miles from the mill, the log truck could get 4 trips to and from your location they're about $250 a load, divide that by how much volume they're hauling, there's your per MDF price in the truck. This is a forestry market published now, with Mills in Washington, again, it looks like there's a ton of them, but there really is not.
Yeah, it's the three dots in Okanagan County.
Oh, yeah, they're refinishing mills, I mean, you got, you know, there's one mill, it's really the two mills, it's showing like a cluster of 5, I don't know. But, you know, it's hard, but figure out what the nearest mill is, and you typically know that when you're opening it up. But again, Sierra Pacific, Hampton Lumber, Interfor, Murphy, those kind of things, warehouse, you know, they're big mills, and that's where I would start, and work your way back, and all this stuff. But, so the next slide here. So again, I mentioned salvage value is the delivered price, subtracting all of that other stuff. That's important for next slide. So I always like to give this example. This is a situation you might have run into at some point, working across the state, but this was a picture of a timber sale, affected DNR timber sale. So right here is the property lines, state lands past there. This was a private property. Part of the timber sale contract was to build a road. It's private landowner's property. We had to cut their trees, and part of the contract was we had to leave their trees on the road. They were their trees, and one part of the timber sale, so we left them, cut them into whatever they wanted. And the landowner came up to me afterward, yeah, you know, I called some folks, they didn't think there was enough for, you know, they didn't think it was worthwhile, you can just have it. You know, I just, like that, just drives me crazy. So this is just kind of a situation, this is this exact situation, and I did the right thing, and I told the landowner what his logs were worth. So you had about 5,000 board feet of cedar in this pile, about one log truck load. We use my publicly posted prices right now for cedar, $1,400. Logging costs for me were $90, put it on the truck, hauling costs were $65 to get it to Alta and Canilchi. No road construction, because I already built the roads. And then taxes for that road was per thousand was $67.90. So stumpage valuation, so I put 1,400, subtracting all these costs was 1,177. Times that by 5,000 board feet is about $6,000. I don't know many landowners that want to give that away at any time, so it's like, it's just a clear example to me of the lack of knowledge, especially when you're talking cedar, it's always worth money to someone. So just kind of high level there, how you back into something like that. So moral of the story, logs are worth money. So is there any questions on that? That stuff, and we're just gonna kind of talk about some random specialty log markets that you all might face at some point. Yeah.
So you mentioned before, the future log futures is expected to rise 18% in 2025. How does that, is that
So,
all log?
That was
prices or
lumber futures. So that-
Lumber futures,
Yeah.
how does that correspond with raw log? prices?
So that's where you're back to this COVID situation where they were making a ton of money for lumber futures, but they were paying that much for logs. I think, you know, there is some correlation there, but it's not, you know, dollar for dollar. It's always gonna go up, but you know, typically that's a good indicator that we're gonna see some little, you know, little price increase or steady as it goes, probably more likely.
But they can't really, it's hard to kind of project that.
Yeah.
log price.
But looking at lumber futures, I mean, it didn't matter. You could actually back into what a mill break even cost is to operate. I mean, just given the lumber future prices and operated. Where we're at right now, they're not at break even, they're making a little bit of money still, but before COVID, before all this, I mean, mills operated at break even. So, you know, a slight increase is a good increase at this point. We're already kind of high. So I'm optimistic, but you know, who knows? Maybe another COVID or something. The sky's the limit, or worse, something worse, and it goes the other way. Maybe not. Yeah. Anything else? Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna, and so how many mills are you pulling your numbers from?
Yeah. So my log price survey, I get around 20 mil participation a month. That's across all species. Some will buy cedar, some will buy alder. So on the fir, Doug fir, you know, I'm getting 6 to 7 participation, but also DNR has short sale programs for the option stuff. So we'll actually log a timber sale ourselves and we'll self-sort from the job. So we're getting bids from purchasers. So some of those ones, we'll get 30, 40 other indicators. So it's the largest database probably available of market points and market things that point to prices. But yeah, we get pretty good participation, and then also we pay into that Forest Economic Advisors, Forest Market I was talking about. They also provide us another 30 indicators to point to. So it gets up there, 60 per species per store at some months. But pretty volatile. It's $1,000 at the bottom of high end and $500 at the low end, and you gotta find the middle somewhere in there. So yeah. No.
So the, COVID jump in prices, was that a demand issue because a lot of people were building chicken coops, or was it a supply issue and there wasn't a lot of wood coming out of the woods?
You know, I've heard a lot of people tell you, I think it was. I think there was a huge demand. I love chicken coop and fence, all sorts of stuff. Everyone's at home looking at their crappy yards that they hadn't maintained, and then went out and bought all this stuff. And at the same time, you had interest rates rising, and following COVID, and so you had landowners, homeowners who would rather spend 50 grand and fix up their kitchen than try to sell their house and get a shitty interest rate and move. So you had a huge boom in the remodel business. But at the same time, you also had a huge labor shortage everywhere. That was really hard in the pork products industry. So I mean, that contributed to it too, which then meant there was no availability of product and there high demand, and so it just created a terrible situation. But I mean, honestly, I mean, the way logs have operated outside of COVID and lumber, it was a $14 sheet of plywood in 1990. It's pretty much a $14 to $16 sheet of plywood now. And that's not so much supply, way less supply. We used to have the water service pumping out millions and millions of board feet, not anymore. But a lot of that's been innovation within the industry. Like I showed you Sierra Pacific, they had like many people working that whole floor and they're doing 40 log truckloads a day. That's just crazy. So, yeah, is that kind of answer? Yeah.
So with like Rainier selling all that property, like on the west of the Olympics, and then potentially like Campbell Group, like potentially like getting out too, like they've pretty much tried and they probably will. Do you think, or have you like heard anything with like Port Angeles? Because I know like from like relationships with people that work there, they got, I think he said like 60-70% of their wood from west of Lake Crescent, so.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's, so Interport and Port Angeles is a really unique situation. They only buy the Doug Fir hemlock, and they only buy it at 19 inches on. So big hit. So that's actually a pretty small log thinking about it. So they're two in the Desperate Tree Farm. DNR wood's almost too big for them. So they're in a really tough spot. I mean, there's a lot right now. We buys that this property. It is pretty picked over. Rainier did a pretty good job making a lot of money during COVID, for sure. But you know, it's a crucial location for a mill like that, and down the guys down in Aberdeen and within there. So. You know, I've heard lots of rumors of people interested in it. I thought DNR was going to buy it, but who knows? Like I said, I believe the auction was today. Long story short, they bought that, pre-COVID and had a big interest balloon payment to come due at the end of this year. And that's speculations. They don't want that balloon payment to hit, so they're trying to offload it. They promised it to shareholders. In an investment meeting earlier in the year, they were putting so much more money in, so they dropped the budget in Oregon, Washington. This is the latest casualty, but it's a huge deal. One of the biggest landowners in the most productive forest in Washington slows down to then sell. It's not like if they sold today, whoever buys it, it's just gonna fire up tomorrow. It's gonna be like a 6-month closing period, probably just like your home or something like that, on a huge scale, where nothing's gonna happen. So that's a huge loss of logs on the market. So I would imagine there's a quick spike.
Yeah, and that whole like West End, like in Forest, like they're the largest like logger, like Gilead's Home, is pretty much just log for Rainier.
Yeah, no,
The second largest, Baldwin, just log, mostly for like Campbell Group and DNR, and it's like.
Yes, yeah. No, they're both in tough spots. For sure. It'll be interesting to buy. I mean, it could be the next carbon sink or something. I don't know. Who knows? Let's see. Yeah, anyone else? Okay, so we just kind of did high level there, so I like to always, this is kind of where I kind of geek out with products industry, and it's something I always found fun. Okay, so, big one I like to talk about is cedar salvage here, so. This is mostly Grays Harbor County, you get over towards like Lake Kavanaugh area, there's also a lot over there, but, Grays Harbor County all the way down to Ohio County, pretty much the whole coast. Huge market, a lot of people don't know about, huge money here. But what we're talking about is not, Southwest salvage, I'm not talking about Burlington, I'm talking about stuff that was left behind when they logged the first time around. So it's mostly old growth stumps and logs. Back in World War I, we had a huge, spruce coalition, I don't know if you remember that on the coast, but. They needed a bunch of spruce for airplanes and ships and stuff, and so they went out, all the pictures you see of women loggers, they ran the industry on the coast, they went out with the spruce coalition, they went out. And they just strictly targeted, spruce, and so then when they saw big cedars like this, they just kind of caught them if they were in the way, or left them standing, or pushed them over, whatever they had to do to get the spruce. So it's left these patches out there on the coast, and, a lot of them have been found, but there's certain spots out there where you find the situation where they did exactly that. They just pushed over all these old cedar and they're sitting there, and cedar doesn't rot. We all know, especially when you're talking this kind of cedar, so it's stuff 1,000 years old maybe. But huge money. And so back during COVID, we had a huge moratorium on logging in Canada. Canada has been the primary producer of shaken shingle in the world. They put huge moratorium on all around that pretty much. And so that drew a huge amount of people down to Washington and Oregon, chasing cedar salvage. So we had $2,000 of forward prices for cedar, which is just crazy. I mean, think of a quart of firewood, that's what $2,000, a guy with a chainsaw and a pickup, go get 2 cords real quick and make $4,000. But it just created this huge market on the coast. That was already there, but now it's even bigger. Canada's still really slow to get back going as they're coming out of the moratorium here. All the cedar, from what I understand, goes like to the East Coast, the huge mansions where they're building shingle sided houses and stuff, really expensive stuff. But there's a whole submarket. There's some data that this one can be in our there's roughly 20 mills working along the coast of 101. From Astoria to the force, cutting this stuff, and they're trying to find it anywhere they can, but large flat issue, so if you're ever walking someone's property and you start seeing this stuff, that's great habitat, and stuff, it's also worth a ton of money. They do a lot of stuff that maybe they want to keep going. We're gonna go a little faster. It's like this was a picture I took while I was hunting or something, but this is the kind of stuff you'll see, but you know, this was exact, this is in conservation area on state lands. This is exactly that. This is a spruce coalition thing. There's huge stumps of spruce, just perfectly cut off. They would leave a stick of spruce anywhere in this whole thing. Everywhere there's just big cedar tipped over, slashed, or whatever they did just to get the spruce out of there. And finding this stuff is just crazy cool because it hasn't caught that. Come out there, dice it up and stuff. But typically what happens in that situation, I'm not like say a hunter in private conservation ground DNR. I'm a tweaker looking for a couple $1,000 on the weekend. So this is when you see a lot in the woods out on the coast, unfortunately. So they go out there and they go out at night, and they'll block them off at night. So they'll cut them into 16 or 18-inch blocks. And they'll leave them like that, and they'll come back during the day and they'll axe them and cut their shingle blocks out, clean them up. And then it's gotten to the point and so much money. I mean, there's actually private commercial pilots that will fly in illegally with helicopters and lift the stuff out of the woods and drop it on the road. They haul it out of there. Huge money. I mean, super. I mean, this goes straight down. It's pretty big log jam in the creek. They throw it all over the bridge. I mean, it's just terrible stuff. But again, $2,000, the chainsaw and axe, and people make that at night. Huge spike in this 2022. It's come down a little bit, more like $1,000. Next slide. But this was a legal one I sold with DNR. So it was this timber sale. We had already sold the timber sale. So the timber sale was about 300 acres. So the timber sale, the road package, everything, all in, we made about $1.2 million on just the timber sale, and it came in afterwards. So it's nothing but a clear cut. And we don't sell damaged wood in our timber sale contracts, it's only live standing stuff. Came in afterwards and I sold salvage rights to a mill on the coast. We sold it for $775,000 just for the stuff that's on the ground. So the trees are already long down, hadn't been planted yet, so they block it up, and they, as we go through here. They block it up in the woods and the helicopter comes in and they have these slings around them. They bring them to the roads, drop them. With the helicopter and then they load them up in the big bins and the mills seal them. So,
So did that.
Yes.
It wasn't woodruff stumps, it's just stumps.
So this one in particular actually wasn't mostly stumps. For whatever reason, the stumps, they cut them really low, so there wasn't enough of stumps. So it was actually logs that were left. They're like half buried, covered in moss.
So still.
Oh yeah, this stuff is really old, and this is vertical grain. Old as it gets type stuff, but you know, it was harvested once, they're like the springboard stumps you see out there.
Yeah.
But what's left, and so it's either they left it because they weren't chasing cedar, or maybe it was the hollow one that they didn't even want to bottle with, and they cut it and they poured it out. A lot of the stuff has already been salvaged once before for shaking shingle, but now our quality of shaking shingle is way lower, so now it's all more money again. I'm excited. But yeah, so what you'll see is like, this might have been a log right here that was blocked up, and they put these slings around them, and it's a ton of people power to do this operation. I mean, every one of these slings is an individual cutter out with a chainsaw and an axe usually. And he'll take his log or his little ground. Every rope is color coordinated to that person, so when it gets thrown to the landing, he's paid by what he did, you know, for his rope coordination. I mean, it's just, I think there's probably 30 guys out on this one with chainsaws, cutting stuff, and then one helicopter flying into the roads and forklifts putting in bins and, but huge money, beautiful product. So yeah, this was like, they just fly, missed the helicopter, they just fly and jumped them all. And they put them into these big bins and load them into the shake and jingle mills, and they're just mills that this stuff is all vertical grain. So actually, some of them actually blade it, some of them don't even blade it, they just pretty much, it's like a hydraulic press, and they just hold it and it cuts it, and they move it and maneuver it, it cuts perfect vertical grain and shingles and siding and everything like that. Another big one, I was going with them was one of these alder slicers. Did a lot of this when I was on the private side. Something you all might be exposed to on the west side, doing some sort of restoration project and repairing areas, big money, huge market for it. Worth more than cedar in the right situation. Small market, mostly the East Coast veneer mills. A lot of them up in your IKEA furniture, all of them stuff really unique. It can be stained to look like anything, and so it'll stain all over like black walnut and all black walnut facade, IKEA furniture. So this stuff makes huge circles here. So I'd buy this stuff from DNR, from 12 landowners here in West Washington. Bring it in, they have to be 12 inches minimum on the small end, 10-foot multiples. I sort them out, find the best ones. They can't have the black knots. You see them all over a lot. That keeps it out. I'd put it on a flatbed, they'd ship it all the way to Indianapolis. In Indianapolis, they'd slice it into thin little sheets like you would butter with a knife. Those sheets were then put back onto the truck, shipped all the way back to Eugene, where they were brought to a hardwood plywood facility where they were made of plywood. And that plywood was shipped to China and made IKEA furniture, and it was shipped back to the US. It's IKEA furniture. I mean, just the footprint that had travel is just insane, but huge money, over a couple thousand bucks a thousand, so $2,000 a thousand easily on that. Got to know the right people to talk to and that kind of stuff, but huge money. Next slide. These are just all of them beautiful, I think. Really fun. Checking, splitting it in age stain. So when you let all sit too long, it gets this red stain. That's no good because that affects the ability of the wood to take stain in without changing its color and stuff. But I put in individual clips in these things to make them not split, and then I can do it on flatbed and stuff. This is a little flatbed. load them when I get on the machine and stack them like a Jenga block. And strap them 15 times and then make that long trip all the way over there. But huge money. I always like to tell the story. I was this landowner in Thurston County, and about 2 mile stretch. He's an ex-fisheries biologist guy. 2 mile stretch along the Fishbringer Stream. And he, in his retirement, he had done this big restoration project along the whole stream, and he had done all this time. And he was trying to do a hardwood conversion, short-lived hardwood species to long conifer. And so he'd spent, 20 years of his retirement trying to do this by himself. It was 25 horse Kubota and a chainsaw. And he finally decided that he had to call someone to ask for help to finish it because he didn't have any more room to put in this stuff. Couldn't stack the wood anywhere else. And so I went out there. I kid you not, it was the most beautiful alder I'd ever seen. It was well over $1 million worth of alder. This guy's, field that he just let split and turn into firewood. I did it. That wasn't his priority. His priority was going to have that restoration, but he could have done a heck of a restoration for $2 million with all that wood. And I'm not even kidding. And the only reason he called was because he literally had no physical space to put anymore. But he had done a really nice conversion and that's in concrete all in there. And it took him so long, we got to see it like in progression on the stream. It's really, really neat, but travesty. That day was lost. Exciting. So another one, poles. I really like to geek out on poles. DNR is big on poles. So you have distribution, transmission poles. Distribution poles are smaller poles that bring your power to your individual houses. Transmission poles are what bring power long distances. So Doug Fir, Red Cedar poles, west side of the state, Red Cedar poles on the east side of the state. There's some large poles over here too. Super hard to find. Nowhere else in the world would these things grow. Maybe into Canada, not very far in Canada, Washington, and that's it. For your transmission poles. So the only feasible alternative for these are steel and concrete poles, which have their own issues and carbon footprints. So this is really a national resource that we hold here in Washington. It's not only too, but high premium. Doug Fir might be about $700 right now. Doug Fir pole might be about $1,200. So we double the price. Big poles, difficult to find. We can't have spike knots and throat knots out, and it's hard to harvest them. Long, hard to haul, they're long, hard to turn. Red Cedar poles will never go out of demand. We are the only place in the world that has Red Cedar poles. Red Cedar poles are a good alternative. You don't want to stick a creosoted pole into a wetland or a swamp. You stick a Red Cedar pole in untreated. It will last, not really last. So these are just kind of pictures you look at and walk into someone's property, they want to do some sort of thinning or something, you see this kind of stuff. Big poles, because it's big money. The big players there are Stella Jones and Bell Timber. Short pole load out of Belfair, was home. Those went straight on a boat to Ireland. So they go into the pole yards, they go up through these long, it's kind of hard to explain it. If you ever had that apple thing, you spin and it peels the apple as you spin it or whatnot. It's kind of like that. They're doing these and running through with a peeler and a big drying period in the yard. They'll sit in the yard for maybe a year or two to get properly dry. Then they go into these big, they look like submarines. They're hundreds of feet long, and we'll stick them in there. They're high pressure and creosote and cook them and take all the liquid out of them. And they're shipped off to the municipalities everywhere. We had cedar poles. I didn't have any good pictures of cedar poles. Big thing with cedar poles is worm. Didn't have any worms in it, but it's no good. You see these kind of like cavities and stuff underneath the bark. It's the bad side. With pinwheels like that at the knots. And then the big one here is like Molly Doug Fir. Not a lot of mills that still cut big stuff, but the ones that do pay a lot of money for it, especially high quality stuff. Interesting enough, there's the stone, show Yellowstone correlated really nicely with a nice boom, exposure to new markets and stuff. A lot of that stuff comes from Western Washington. High rate counts important, so age, stuff. A lot of inside. When you're talking about high quality, fur, oversized type stuff, and you think that's a nice lot, and then not, so it's got a big clump right there. It's almost good at that point. That's the point of being right. That's a beautiful lot, obviously. Another thing I like to point out, oversized clear heart stuff, so with cut big beams, it's actually more important to get the heart out of the big beam, so when the heart's offset on the big lot like that, it actually makes more money. Situations like this where they bring them up, roll them out in log form and big timber frame builder, house builder, come and bid on the individual log, we cut a certain way, and like we've been on 2 million in Japan and stuff, I mean, just crazy stuff to get the right board, right kind they want. But, it's like- When you're talking high quality common sense is the best bet. It's tree farm, it's the best stuff versus. Price them, nice stuff, always with more money. Bring count, structural integrity of this board versus that, drastically different. Acoustic velocity is a big thing, 45 rings, I have acoustic velocity, and great experience. And another one is the last one. Here's one a lot, figure table. There is a huge market for it. It's beautiful, a lot of money. I think it's really good. It's cool person. Yeah, a lot of cedar, a lot of depth of personal business stuff. This big log, the last slide, just the slide we took out, but I'd like to show this picture here. This is a big social media guy I follow. He's speaking. He works for Fender Guitar, he makes beautiful Fender guitars. He's buying legally sourced maple from Western Washington, but I don't know many loggers out there with flashlights with them, when I help some maple. So interesting, it's like see when you cut stuff, when it's cutting, you start seeing crazy stuff inside, and it's a clear sign. It's like pinhole pins coming out of them, it's all that stuff. This is kind of what you see out in the woods. It's stuff. Yeah, so those are just kind of all random specialty products you might run into that are worth money. And again, I'll throw out a plug for our assistant for all the stuff I told you about. Log prices can all be navigated from the here. I don't believe on that similar at all, but log prices and market conditions was put on that. We follow that we talked about. That's what we got. Yeah, here's my contact stuff. I am a state resource, so if you ever we'll go out with Pierce County folks, we're talking holes and log marketing, and fittings and repair restorations and stuff like that. So if you ever have any questions or anything like that, give me a call. Point in the right direction or think of the right people's phone numbers and that kind of stuff. Appreciate you all sitting there. Any questions? Yeah.
For that older slicers, what's the length of those?
So they'll like 10-foot multiple, some we sell it in China, they'll buy all have 4-foot blocks, but it's got to be 12 inch diameter. It's a big thing. 10 foot.
12 inch small.
12 inches is small. Yeah, can't want that black. Staking, super bad, sat out for a month. Yeah, and then the maple, I couldn't even give you a contact for who you can sell the maple to because they're all very listed. I wouldn't trust them in this. But it is beautiful stuff. I mean, there's someone out there who would buy it or something, I'm sure. For a lot. Coworker, like a 4-year, doing that. He retired and he sent me some pictures in, bucking up some wood, convinced his neighbor to let him. His neighbor came over and they fell a big black wall in their backyard and put it all on fire with them. He's like, yeah, it was really naughty, it was hard heck to split. Oh. Yeah, so I mean, super cool stuff. But, yeah. So if you ever got any questions, give me a call. Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.